Thought I'd go live today. I've just come back from some coaching sessions and there's been a few issues this week that people have talked about, and I think it's really relevant that what I've been working with, I share with you. So I hope in some way it helps you. Today's topic is all about little voices and fear. Now, I know it's something that we all have, so I thought it's really relevant today to share it with you. So thank you for being here, and I hope you get some value out of it. So when we talk about fear, I really think that to face fear, to create the wonderful life or business that we desire, the first key is to prepare for battle, because that's what I think fear is. You have to battle fear, you have to get your game plan on, and you have to get your strategy ready. I don't know if I'm a bit of is it a right brain or a left brainer, but I like strategy. I love having a clear plan ahead. And for me, that's how I use strategy, my game plan, to get over fear. And so today I wanted to just look at 4 key things that I use and that I'd love to share with you on getting over fear. How to prepare for battle, how to get your strategy together, because we all have it. And it starts from choosing to face your fear and learning to talk back to that little voice in your head. So here I ask you the question, do you have little voice in your head? Or do you have many little voices in your head, as I do? Well, they are the key. They are one of the things I target when I come under fear, because the more fear I have, the more my little voices talk to me. And so I really focus on getting control of my little voices. So here goes 4 steps, 4 simple steps to have you hopefully cope with fear, deal with fear, and get out there and create the life or business that you choose. So number 1, I say it's to get prepared. Know your enemy. Understand your fears. Because this to me is really key. Whatever it is we come up against, we really need to understand it. And the fear that I'm talking about is just natural, normal fear that we all have. Because it's the response in our body that just kicks in automatically when we're going to undergo change or something we don't understand or something new. It's that fear that has us say to ourselves, oh my goodness, what if I fail? What if I get it wrong? Why me? I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too this, I'm too that. That's the fear I want to talk about today. And we conquer that. First step is by really understanding what that fear is and getting to know our enemy. Because we instinctively just want to flee our fears. It doesn't matter who we are, it's instinct in us. We either want to flee or we want to fight it. And I choose fight it, don't flee from it. Because if we understand those fears, and we understand the voices in our head are partly there because we're human, because that's just the way we're made. So in a way, we don't fight our fears, but we can have an action plan to get over our fears really, really quickly if we understand that they're just part of who we are. Then number 2, we need to recognize that once we understand our fears, that what happens next, guess what, is totally up to you. Number 2 is we've got to take responsibility, because sure, fear is totally natural and we can't just sit back and blame biology for why we aren't making the changes in our lives, why we aren't doing things. Well, we can, and that's what's stopping us from achieving all those cool things that we want to achieve. Because what it means is now that you know what it is, you know what to expect, you know that it's something in us, then guess what? You are in the pilot seat. You are in control. You now need to stand up, take responsibility, make a choice. You can sit there and let it overtake you, or you can get up and make something cool happen. Hello, Carmen and Marie. Wow, thank you for joining me. I hope this is of some help to you. So number 1, you need to get your game on and understand what fear is. Number 2, once you understand it, you need to take responsibility for your life. And I'm really hot about that one. But number 3 is the fun part. You've got to talk back to it. You've got to get those little voices in. You've got to argue them down. You've got to get them down. How? You've got to start collecting evidence of all the times that you have been successful, that you've shone, that you've achieved things, you've accomplished things. Get all these in your mind. Take stock of what you know and what you have accomplished. Get clear on what your abilities are. See fear, acknowledge it, argue with it, use what you know to be true about you and what you're capable of. And then hit that fear, hit those little voices and argue out loud with it. And I'm really good at this. I've got really good at this in China because there's so much fear come up for me so often. And often the argument is just in my head. And so that's what I do. I argue in my head. I tell everyone I have little voices that I argue with all the time. Then number 4, once we acknowledge it, we understand it, we take responsibility, we accept that, you know what, we're totally capable of getting over this. Then number 4 is the key one. We've got to make a move. You cannot just sit there and think or talk your way through fear. You need to move physically. You need to make a move. And only you can determine your next step. But here's one way I like to think of, one question that can help you determine that next step. And that question is, and I'm going to read this because I always get it wrong, am I willing to stay where I am and keep feeling what I do in order to avoid fear that comes with taking that next step? And it's a big question, and I often think of this, am I really willing to stay where I am and let fear take control of what I do in my life? And if the answer is yes, then guess what? Own it. Fantastic. You are totally in control. And is it hard? Is it easy? Hey, it's as hard or as easy as we make it. And if it's not, if you are not in control, if you are not willing to take that next step, then go get some help. Please get some help. Because once we learn how to overcome fear, the world's our oyster. There is so much out there that we can accomplish. Believe me, if I hadn't overcome my fears, I wouldn't be where I am today. And I'm so glad that I have overcome my fears. And yet, you know what? It doesn't just stop there. It keeps going. It's not like fear stopped all of a sudden when I arrived in China or when I started speaking to 100, 200, 300 people on stage. It keeps going and going and going. But it's like a muscle. If you can strengthen that muscle, if you can strengthen your ability to overcome these fears, face these fears, take responsibility and yell back at them, then guess what? I believe you will be just as successful as I am in overcoming your fear, getting out there, making change, and creating the world, the business, the lifestyle, whatever it is that you desire. So, ka kite anō everyone. Thank you for being here and listening to me. I'm going to really try and do some lives, but it just depends on internet. But I hope you've enjoyed this. Please leave a comment. Please tell me if this is helpful for you and any other topics that you'd like me to talk about. Ka kite anō everyone. Wherever you are in the world, have an awesome day.